The motion of no confidence debate tabled by the Democratic Alliance against Gauteng Premier David Makhura is currently underway at the legislature, while the DA wants Makhura to be held accountable for the deaths of the 144 live esidimeni mentally ill patients. Let's get live to those proceedings over there.
Former MEC Mahlango, her plea of ignorance and that Dr. Selebano and Dr. Manamela lied to her about the facts related to the Marathon project is patently untrue. It is untrue that society must take responsibility for life estimate. It is the government under David Makhura or Premier David Makhura that must take full responsibility. That is why the Chief Justice made awards in excess of R1 million. He would not have made awards in excess of R1 million for all the constitutional damages that the families and the deceased suffered if all of us as a society were responsible for the murders. The death of these 144 mentally ill patients is obviously a tragedy, but only a tragedy because you take a department with a budget of in excess of R40 billion and you waste that money and you don't even take care of a critical aspect such as mental health care. When Mr. Makhura testified at the arbitration hearings before Justice Moseneke and during the State of the Province address, the Premier took full responsibility and accountability for the death of these patients because he knew that he could have prevented the loss of life. He had all the power and authority to do so as the head of the Gauteng cabinet. The Premier was supposed to have done that, the right thing, and resigned. We shouldn't be sitting here having to support a DA motion for him to leave. He must leave, and he must hand himself over to the police for the murder investigations of the murder case that we opened. We cannot be governed by people with murder charges hanging over their heads. Honourable members, it is disheartening that these patients died from conditions that were not even initially mental illness conditions, but from negligence by the ANC government running the Gauteng government under the leadership of Premier David Makhura to compromise the lives of patients by cancelling the more than 40-year-old life estimate contract. By the way, we want to outline some reasons for David Makhura to step down. It's not just limited to his participation in the killing of the 144 patients. This province, under your leadership, spent close to R1 billion in 2016-17 financial year through the Department of Infrastructure on renting office space as government, when you should be having your own buildings owned by the state, not renting them. Across departments, there are unnecessary litigations against the state to the extent that Roads and Transport in 2016 racked up a bill of over R1 billion. You and your Human Settlements Department promised in 2014 when we came here to build over 600,000 houses. You haven't even built 100,000, and the shortage is 1 million. The entire province has no integrated public transport network, despite the desperate need for integrated transport. The Gautrain, which is costing the state an arm and a leg, which is not helping day-to-day commuters with anything. It can't connect to Metro Bus, it can't connect to Rea Vaya, it can't connect to Metro Rail. The Department of Social Development has unbridled money laundering activities, which to this day has not yet been investigated, and no arrests have been made, despite 2 separate questions posed by the EFF last year in May and in 2017 August. The Gauteng Broadband Network project is nothing but a huge R1 billion scam, disguised as a progressive ICT project that is meant to create seamless interconnectivity across all government departments and departments in the province. But the 2 song centers, for example, are sitting with ghost servers manned by ghosts and with a ghost connectivity. Your Department of Health is the worst disaster in history. All clinics and hospitals in this province, probably with the exception of Steve Biko, are a living nightmare for both patients, staff members, and community healthcare workers, cleaning staff, and most probably even the porters in all those hospitals. Day in, day out, we are subjected to horrible stories about the disastrous Department of Health. Community safety is incapable of making themselves useful except for hosting memorial services. Instead of bringing direction to the directionless South African Police Service that cannot protect and service any community, the least they can do is to advise upwards in the SAPS if they can't do anything else. At least demand to get foot patrols by the police, not in vans. Get the 14 wards in Everton who don't have a single police station. The whole of Everton doesn't have a police station. Get them a police station. The Department of Education is stuck in an untransformed education system that is not only untransformed in terms of spatial planning, but also in terms of curriculum content, and worse, non-racialism. The department is riddled with theft, fraud, and corruption at majority of the so-called former Model C schools. Maybe because Nisaba Belungu, you are scared to confront those former white schools. You have been governing the province for over 24 years, and yet you have failed to intervene in the governance of the education department and all its public schools. We are in support of the motion. The Premier's head must roll first.
Honorable Mashigo, time is up. I see there's a hand.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. I'm rising on Rule 77.5.
Okay.
And I'll